Tim is next on Schnitt. Hi, Tim. Tim, are you the 912 guy?
I am.
Tim, welcome back. How are you? Tampa 912 Project, and you broke the news on our show that it wasn't just Cincinnati, it wasn't just California, it wasn't just Washington, D.C., that these groups were getting letters from the IRS. Your letter, your harassment letter, came from a Baltimore IRS office.
Absolutely did. Todd, thanks for having me back again.
You bet.
And it wouldn't do for me to run into Doug Schulman in a outside somewhere, so I'll get off of that very quickly. But we are, in fact, signatories to the filing of a class action lawsuit. We are suing the government and for damages as well, for specific performance as part of the lawsuit, but also for damages. So it's coming. And there are other organizations, the ACLJ and Cleta Mitchell with True the Vote, are doing some things separately, but we are part of a class action lawsuit that's being filed.
I only have 20 seconds here before the hard break. Tim, did you hear the audio that I played from the pro-Israel group that I played yesterday from the woman?
I didn't get a chance to listen yesterday.
All right. From Z, it's called Z Street. I've got to play this audio again. Doug, make sure Tim, hang on a sec, because I want to make sure you're listening. Stand by. Back in a minute. SchnittShow.com. Hey, quickly here, I forgot the attribution to the Daily Caller with the 157 times that Schulman visited the White House. Yeah, I'm great about attribution. I just forgot. I got tied up with the caller. Hey, I want you to hear this audio again from this woman, a pro-Israel group, and how they were put through hell by the IRS, and very damaging things were told to her. That and big oil. Next.
This is the Schnitt Show.
Let me dive right into what I promised. I promised that I would play again the Lori Lowenthal Marcus audio. She's with Z Street. Z Street is a pro-Israel group trying to get their IRS tax-exempt status. And I can't believe what she claims that the IRS said to her attorneys trying to handle the issues they're having. All right, so Tim is back on the line. Hi, Tim from the Tampa 912 Project. And how long were you guys put through the ringer on your tax-exempt status?
Took about a year.
And what were the intrusive questions again that they asked you guys? What kind of grape press did they put you guys through?
Right. Well, let me preface the questions with this. We were at the very front of it, so based on what we know now, I'm absolutely convinced that we were just the petri dish. They were testing because the questions got more invasive, more intrusive the further into the process that other organizations went. They started with they wanted screenshots of our web pages. They wanted to know what research material we were using to develop the classes that we were teaching. And so one of our responses was the United States Constitution. If you'd like a copy, we'll send it to you.
Yeah. All right. So what year was this? So you think you guys were at the beginning, that they were using you as kind of a test phase. What year was this that you guys underwent the scrutiny?
This was in 2010, Todd. Our application went in February. We got a letter in March of 2010. We know that that's about when they got started putting the screws to people.
You're right. You were at the beginning of this. And, we found out they were doing it earlier than they had initially stated. So you guys were at the forefront. You were at the beginning. Let me play this audio of Lori Lowenthal Marcus. I captured this from Fox News Channel yesterday. She was on with Megyn Kelly. And her story is amazing. This is a pro-Israel group trying to get their 501 status. Listen.
We didn't know that it was being subjected to extra scrutiny until the IRS agent told us so. Our corporate counsel called the agent assigned to our file about 7 months after we had filed, just to find out how the application was going, whether they needed additional information. And that's when the IRS agent told us, if you're an organization connected to Israel, you need to have special scrutiny from the IRS, and some of those groups will be sent to a special unit in Washington, D.C. to determine if your activities are in contradiction with those of this administration's.
To determine if your activities are in contradiction to the administration.
Yeah. Todd, one of the things that's most upsetting about this is, I don't believe that that Barack Obama specifically said, hey, I want you to do this. But Barack Obama is specifically and personally responsible for allowing this culture of intimidation, the use of our federal government to intimidate its citizens. Barack Obama will never have his fingerprints directly on this. He's too slick, he's too sly, he's too Chicago politics for that. But it is his fault, especially when he doesn't take to task really intellectually weak-minded people like Al Franken and Chuck Schumer, who were telling the IRS...
They were pushing for this. I'm Al Franken, and Chuck Schumer were pushing for this. And I don't know if I don't know who did it. I didn't get a chance to play the audio, but maybe a week and a half ago, there was, who was it? It was somebody who has a blog online, or somebody had actually waited in the congressional tram area. And
I saw that.
Did you see that? Do you remember who did that?
I don't remember the young man's name, but Al Franken is such an intellectual midget and such a weakling, he would not answer the question.
No, he wouldn't. And the question was that you guys initially called for this extra scrutiny for Tea Party organizations and the like, and this young gentleman had a camera and literally was asking them questions. Will you comment on this? Al Franken tried to make a beeline, actually rammed into one of his staffers.
Yeah.
Trying to run away.
Also, Franken, just like Schulman, just like Miller, just like Lois Lerner, Al Franken flat out lied about it. He said, I didn't do that. I mean, these are the people who we hope that we entrust with our security and with our freedom. And they're liars. They're absolute liars.
This shouldn't happen to anybody, whether these are groups that the administration, that this current administration feels that are against their political agenda, or it shouldn't happen against your type of group. And let's say in 2016, hopefully we have a Republican in the White House, and that there are applications for 501c4 operations that are opposed to a new Republican administration. It shouldn't happen to them either. This shouldn't happen to liberal groups either. It should happen to no one. This is America.
Yeah, Todd, all we've ever asked for is that we get a constitutionally limited government. People talk about limited government. Well, I want to know what limits they're talking about, because our limits that we're lobbying for in the Tampa 912 project are very specific. They are constitutionally dictated limits. That's the kind of – we love government when it operates within its constitutionally framed constraints. That's what we want. That's not Democrat. That's not Republican. It's not independent or anything else. It is simply American. It is the Constitution. That's what we want. It's what we demand. It is what we deserve.
Hey, did you see, by any chance, I saw this, this must have been on Monday or Tuesday. I saw a piece, I think it was Jeff Lord from the American Spectator, and I'll try to dig this thing up. If you can, look it up. He wrote a piece. Did you see where he had really outlined about the IRS employees union and all of the money their PAC had given to Obama? And here you have their employees essentially targeting Tea Party organizations. The complete conflict, just to add even more insult to injury.
Absolutely. And Todd, that reminds me of one other thing. If I could, I've seen reports. I didn't see that specific one, but I have seen reports. But how about this IRS agent who is just simply doing their job, that was talking to the pro-Israel group? All this IRS agent is telling her, that agent is telling her is, hey, ma'am, I'm just doing my job. It's something that IRS agent has been told to do. It wasn't something that they necessarily concocted themselves. Right. Therefore, Lois Lerner is a liar again. Schulman is a liar. Miller is a liar. And I'll tell you, if I were an elected official, I would have had Schulman thrown in the congressional jail right then.
Well, listen, what happens here, Tim, is this whole attempt to try to pass the buck, roll it down the line as low as possible to a couple of workers in a small cubicle in Cincinnati. It started, 2 workers, then it became 4, then it became 6. Then we found out that it was multiple offices, so it was geographically even outside of Cincinnati. Then we found out that it was supervisors, that everyone is told what to do. I mean, clearly, this is a culture, and this came from the top and filtered down. And I want to play the audio again because I'm so disturbed. This Lori Lowenthal Marcus from Z Street, it's a pro-Israel lobby, and they were run through the ringer. But to hear again, and let me roll this, because this should be alarming to anybody, whether you're a conservative, whether you're a liberal, whether you're a Democrat, a Republican, whatever. You ought to be totally concerned with what scrutiny the IRS gave them, as well as what they just blatantly said. Let me play this again. Let me roll this back. Hang on, here we go.
From the IRS, and some of those groups will be sent to a special unit in Washington, D.C. to determine if your activities are in contradiction with those of this administration's public policies. So as soon as we heard that, the board met. We understood that that is viewpoint discrimination. It's unconstitutional. You can look at us and see if our activity is inappropriate. You cannot look at us and tell us that our thoughts or beliefs are inappropriate.
Unbelievable. Absolutely as anti-American, as anti-First Amendment, as anti-Constitution, Bill of Rights as it gets. The IRS now is the arbiter of what might be in contradiction to Obama's policy?
And Todd, if I could just throw this isn't a tangent. This is a direct tie. Those are the very same individuals who are going to be responsible for enforcing Obamacare. And if you think for one moment that they won't use that same thought process, that same intimidation process to make determinations about whether or not you receive care or whether or not your care is going to be covered, then you are sadly mistaken. They cannot be allowed to have that kind of power. Look at the power that they have already. But if you heap on top of that the power with the enforcement of the penalty of jail,
absolutely,
it is unnerving.
Well,
this is not America.
Well, guess what? Many Americans that supported this president, voted twice for this president, maybe just once, hopefully. They figured it out the second time around. They're gonna see. Once we have Obamacare implementation, they're going to see how draconian and how, I think, Gestapo-like this actually is. Now, I don't know if you saw The Hill today. The headline in The Hill from Washington, D.C., the publication, GOP chairman want IG to look into Sebelius' calls on Obamacare. Talks about leading Senate Republicans calling for an independent federal investigation of Health and Human Services Secretary Kathleen Sebelius' fundraising efforts for a nonprofit that will promote Obamacare. I mean, the tentacles of impropriety here on every level of this administration, the cabinet member. I just want to pull all my remaining hair out of my head. Hey, Tim, thanks for calling in again. I appreciate it.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
You bet. That was Tim, and he just called in last hour. Tim is the head of the Tampa 912 project, and they're going to be part of this a new class action lawsuit, how they were hampered and discriminated upon by the IRS. And if you heard what he said in the beginning, he believes that they were at the forefront, that they were like a test mule. They were a guinea pig early on in the IRS harassing these organizations like Patriot, Tea Party, 912, Constitution, Limited Government. He thinks that they were actually harassed, and their application for 501c4 status was in the very beginning of this program, this concerted plan out of this administration.